Hello, thanks for joining me on Life and Surround. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Future Bites by Steven Wilson. At long last, it's finally here, The Future Bites. As you can see, I bought the standalone Blu-ray version. No deluxe box set for me. Probably fitting since the music, the lyrics kind of go after people who buy deluxe sets. I'm not sure if it goes after them or commiserates with them. Not exactly sure what Mr. Wilson is trying to say with the concept of this album. Wonder what you think the concept is. But there definitely is sort of a crass, cynical look at consumerism, I think. And yeah, so I bought the standalone Blu-ray. It comes in this slip sleeve. And then you get this red Blu-ray case. It has Steven Wilson, The Future Bites on the front in sort of alphanumeric pager code, sort of. And then you get this very generic looking Blu-ray label, and then finally a booklet with lyrics and a few odd messages. To die, one must ignore facts. In every struggle there is gold. For some reason that one made it into the booklet twice. With real tragedies come real dreams. Yeah, and as you're watching the album on Blu-ray, you're listening and watching the on-screen images. There are some sort of demotivational statements, I guess. Yeah. Sort of a bleak look at consumerism, I think. Anyway, you also get credits for like who did what on songs, and interestingly, for the majority of songs, I think it's fair to say that Mr. Wilson does the majority of the musical performances himself. Vocals, synthesizers, guitars. Somebody else gets a credit for programming. David Costin. Michael Spearman is credited with drums. I don't hear a whole lot in the way of acoustic drums on this. So, but maybe some drum overdubs. Yeah, so anyway, that's the single Blu-ray package. I think that was about the price point that I'm comfortable with for this. Yeah, so The Future Bites. Life and Surround. I'm all about mixology, right? So the mix. The 5.1 mix is outstanding. It's active, it's discreet. Everything's where you want it. It's a surround fest. It's everything that you would expect from the master 5.1 mixer, Steven Wilson. The Atmos also sounds very nice to me. If the 5.1 would be hallmarked by discreet, I would say that the one-word description for the Atmos is diffused. You still do get stuff kind of in the back of the room. You can hear synthesizers of various kinds, kind of this tortured speak and spell sequenced bit, sort of a buzzing bee type of synthesizer. You get voices up there, Sir Elton at a certain point. You get some percussion up there. You get some atmospheric synths. So you definitely do get moments during this album where the Atmos is obviously utilized, like King Ghost and Personal Shopper are probably the two outstanding Atmos mixes. Yeah, so the mixes are great. And let me see, the sonics. This sounds superbly produced, in my opinion, for what was recorded. And so full points for mix, full points for sonics. That brings us to the music. I know there are Steven Wilson fans who absolutely adore this album, and hey, there's something out there for everybody, and there's no accounting for taste. This isn't exactly my cup of tea, And one problem that I have with the release of the Future Bites is that, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many fans actually, some of the best songs are actually in the bonus area of the deluxe set on CD, on separate discs. So the bonus tracks are not included on the Blu-ray. On the Blu-ray you get 3 videos. Those are what could be thought of as the singles that were trickled out over the past year. You get an instrumental version of the album in stereo, and you get the album in DTS 5.1, LPCM 5.1, and in Atmos. So the Blu-ray is quite a value, especially if you get it for under 20 bucks like I did. I wish that there could have been a making of film. Steven Wilson has often done that in the past. No making of this time. Oh well. He may have done a lot of that like online over the last year. I just wasn't really paying attention. So the music. This is very stripped down. If you are primarily a Steven Wilson fan because of his prog tendencies and because of working with virtuoso guitar players, you're not going to find any of that here. Some people are calling this progressive just because Steven Wilson has chosen to do something very different from his previous solo works. I don't know, I come from like the prog rock world where prog kind of defines a bit of style. So it's not just doing something different, it's doing something complex, you know, utilizing a multitude of time signatures, abrupt changes of instrumentation, and really this is a pop record, and it's stripped down. It is very drum loopy. It has these stacked background vocals, like female gang vocals, and it has a lot of Mr. Wilson's falsetto. So I tend to be a fan of albums that feature a bit more in the way of musicianship. I'm not crazy about the stacked background vocals, and I'm also not crazy about Mr. Wilson's use of falsetto. Now, I like falsetto just fine, and I think there are artists that can carry a whole verse or a whole chorus or even damn near a whole album with their falsetto. Some of them are up on that wall. I just don't think that Steven Wilson's voice is particularly suited to everything he was trying to do with this album. I do think that he pulls off about half the songs really well, like he wrote and performed to his strengths. And I would say that good examples would be Self, 12 Things I Forgot, Man of the People, and Follower. So pretty solid material, in my opinion, for about half the album. The other half the songs, you know, he doesn't have a problem collaborating with or hiring women to sing parts that his voice obviously is not suited for. You know, like Nanette from some of the last albums, and the women that appear on this one. In my opinion, he should have also hired a male that can pull off falsetto a little better. It's just my opinion. But he wanted to sing those parts himself, and he's entitled to, as the artist. It just doesn't sound very pleasing to my ears. Now let's take a little trip down memory lane to look at some of Steven Wilson's other projects, in case you are either new to his work or you're just kind of wondering, like, how out of bounds is this album, you know, regarding his other output. So a lot of us are familiar that he was kind of the creative force and the founding member of Porcupine Tree. And so Porcupine Tree went through some different phases, like kind of a spacey, Pink Floyd-ish type of phase. Fear of a Blank Planet right here is pretty much prog metal. So, you know, there's that. Then there's Storm Corrosion that he did with Michael Ackerfeld from Opeth. And that's, you know, fairly atmospheric. Does have some great playing on it, but it's headed toward sort of a more stripped down type of thing. And then you get Blackfield, which in my opinion is some kind of like mellow, usually mellow pop. You get No Man, similar type of thing, just with a different collaborator. Tim Bonus, I think. How many of you have some bass communion, which is basically like field recordings of cymbals and different bits of metal and stuff that are twisted and tortured and sampled and reimagined into kind of like this like uber atmospheric music. Very challenging and not very accessible. And of course, his previous solo recordings, many of which many fans believe Hand Cannot Erase would be the pinnacle. I also love The Raven That Refused to Sing. And so here, you know, you get complexity, you get different textures, you get different types of songs. The title track definitely is in the realm of pop, but it's power pop. You get virtuosic, is that a word? You get virtuoso drums, guitars, keyboards. You get the lovely, impassioned vocals from Nanette. And so, yeah, obviously Steven Wilson has a giant breadth of musical art under his belt. And with this offering, he chose to go extremely stripped down, definitely in the pop realm of things. Like I said, you get no virtuoso guitar playing. It's funny that recently he's been immersed in a little bit of controversy over something he said about Eddie Van Halen. And to me, like, his records are more interesting when he utilizes, you know, great guitar players. And ironically, I found myself thinking like how great it would have been if they could have collaborated. So anyway, it's very stripped down. It definitely has some nods to the 80s, some nods to the early 90s. Like, I feel like 12 Things I Forgot could have been a song from Soul Asylum, like Runaway Train. And then it also, I think, attempts to put its finger on the pulse of today's pop. Like, you know, if you listen to the top 10 songs on Spotify, you get some similar production value. So the Future Bites, available in deluxe box set. I think it's probably all sold out. There were only 5,000 made. You can find the bonus content on YouTube and maybe other free places. Hopefully they'll remain in perpetuity, not get taken down. I have heard the bonus content, and I agree with a lot of fans that some of those bonus songs are stronger than songs that made it to the record. So that's subjective though. You know, Mr. Wilson created the flow that he wanted. These are the songs that he wanted on the album proper. I think this album attempts to make some sort of a statement about consumerism. I think it's kind of anti-consumerism. And so maybe he was just going for the irony that, like, some of the better songs are only available in the most expensive version. And then taking a look at the deluxe set art, much like the label on the Blu-ray, strikes a very generic feel and a very impersonal feel. And I think that's why he did the stacked female background vocals. I get why he did it, I think. I just, again, I don't love those stacked vocals, don't love his overuse of falsetto. And other than that, there's plenty to enjoy here. It is an interesting concept. I would say there are many concepts that I simply enjoy more. Not sure that I'll be drawn back to this album all that much. 4.5, Hand Cannot Erase, Raven, Grace for Drowning, Insurgentus. Much more appealing to me. I respect what Steven Wilson has done here, and also I'm just thrilled with his mixes. And so I also look forward to any Steven Wilson remixes that may be coming out this year and in our distant future. He is personally responsible for a great deal of my surround collection, and I know that's true of many other surround music enthusiasts. So mad props. I'm glad that the album is out. I'm glad that many fans are just absolutely enjoying it to the fullest. It's his best album in some fans' opinion. It isn't in mine. A very interesting thing for him to do. I would love to see him return to working with more virtuosos and a greater variety musically in the future. But if he doesn't, you know, so what? He may choose to strip things down even more for the next album. Pure falsetto for an entire 40 minutes. You know, he can do whatever he wants. It's cool. There are tons of other artists to check out. There's more music out there than anyone can get to in their lifetime. So, I'm not crying too much over, you know, any spilled milk with this release. So, I hope you enjoyed this review. I want to hear your thoughts on the album, your thoughts on the mixes, your thoughts on Steven Wilson's career. Anything else that you wish to put down in the comments, don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't already. It helps this channel reach more people, and hopefully that helps enliven and enrich the surround hobby that many of us love so very dearly. So thanks for watching, and until next time, live life in surround.